Welcome to the Taiwan language episode, a podcast for learning and insights in Mandarin and Taiwanese. I am your host, Yasmin. Welcome to today's episode. In the previous episode, we shared stories that happened between 1945 and 1981 regarding the Chinese Civil War and the migration of mainlanders to Taiwan. This story is from Pai Hsien-yung's work, Taipei People, specifically the story A Touch of Green. Today, I want to share with you the ending theme song of the TV drama version, broadcasted on PTS, titled Men Over Clouds and Women on Earth. Through this story sung by Yoga Lin, you can feel his rendition, resembling the narrative of history without blame or reproach, directly depicting the story of A Touch of Green. I was deeply moved by this song, so I want to share it with you today. I will interpret this song from my perspective. If you want to learn more or listen to this moving song, I've left a reference link below for you to listen to the original version. Here comes my interpretation. 时代一旦疯狂到面目狰狞，生不逢时也只能身不由己，人被命运连根拔起，再随手散成飘萍或浮云。When everything in the times seems to be going crazy, like really out there, those who happen to be born at the wrong time feel totally powerless. It's like fate comes along and just yanks them out of their comfort zone, when tosses them around like those little duckweeds you see floating around, or clouds being blown whenever the wind takes them. In a terrifying era filled with war, Verdancy and others are forced to leave their hometowns, living a life adrift, completely helpless. People are ruthlessly destroyed by fate. 师娘韦晨、郭枕 and the protagonist Verdancy, they were born in the wrong era. They were helpless and unable to live the lives we have now. People are uprooted by fate. For the sake of evacuating, the families of those in the Air Force moved from East Benevolence Village in Nanjing to East Benevolence Village in Taipei. They left their homeland and embarked on a new journey. For the sake of the nation, newlyweds were forced to separate. Whether from family or from each other, they could not be together. Afterwards, those people will become drifting and rootless, duckweeds, losing their roots. 静好的岁月过成了颠沛流离，好男好女哪还有选择余地？一个个生命被扭曲，变成了酸楚的传奇。The peaceful years turned into tumultuous wanderings. Where is the choice left for good men and women? Each life twisted into a bitter legend. The original peaceful days turned into a life of turmoil. Verdancy and her husband Guo Zhen had no choice at all. Their lives were twisted by fate, turning into a bitter story. In war, no one can choose their own destiny. Although most people are kind, kindness cannot allow a person to live the life they want. The so-called choice is the space for free choice. When war breaks out, one's freedom will be deprived, and no one can have the freedom to choose. Freedom did not exist at that time. Each life twisted in this situation where they cannot protect themselves. They can only rely on themselves. So many people will prioritize their own interests. Although they might have been kind originally, when their lives are threatened, they will become unexpectedly different and become a bitter legend. 在天上的男人借来了翅膀飞，凭着热血就视死如归，但羽翼蓦然被天收回那一瞬间，回望来处，该说爱或亏欠。The man in the sky, borrowing wings to fly, bravely facing death with hot blood. But when the wings are suddenly taken back by the heavens, in that moment of retrospect, should it be said as love or regret? The man in the sky, borrowing wings to fly, bravely facing death with hot blood. This theory expresses the quality needed by the boy who joined the military at that time, bravely, obedience, and sacrificing themselves for the country. Once the war breaks out, these airmen must go to the battlefield for their country. But when the wings are suddenly taken back by the heavens, in that moment of retrospect, should it be said as love or regret? When these airmen are defeated, they may die in battle. At that moment, when they are dying, what they can't bear most is their wives and children, right? At this time, what do they most want to say to their wives? Is it I love you or I'm sorry? As an Air Force pilot, Guo Zhen, like a bird in the sky, borrowed wings to fly. But unlike migratory birds, he could not return home. At the moment of his crash, looking back, did he see a beautiful scene? 地上的女人们，迟早的未亡人，早把生活活成了生存。若偶尔想起没跟上人生那段青春，偶然淡然一笑，不是不恨。The women on the ground, inevitably widows, have already turned life into survival, if occasionally thinking about the youth that was missed in life, with a faint smile. It is not that there's no hatred. The women on the ground, inevitably widows. This theory describes the women waiting for their husbands to return. They will eventually face the fate of becoming widows. In the days when their husbands went out to fight, they also fought for their own survival. In order to protect this family, they spare no effort, waiting for their beloved husbands to return. 二等闲师娘, as women on the ground, may become widows sooner or later, living like living ghosts. They have already wiped away their tears, hidden their scars, and only hope to live the rest of their lives peacefully in reality, without war and turmoil. 静好的岁月原来是上天悲悯，人有多残忍，人都难以置信。活生生千万个悲剧，换几行史册的注记。The peaceful years turned out to be a bit of a divine mercy. How cruel people are as unbelievable. Living tragedies abound, exchanged for a few lines of historical records. It turns out that the peaceful and beautiful years are just a bit of divine mercy, and what makes people experience cruelty. Countless tragedies are exchanged for just a few lines of text in history books. 在天上的男人借来了翅膀飞，可惜不像候鸟去有回。当羽翼蓦然被天收回那一瞬间，最后一眼看见的美不美？ The man in the sky, borrowing wings to fly, unfortunately not like migratory birds to return. When the wings are suddenly taken back by the heavens, the last glance, seeing beauty or not. The Air Force pilot, like birds in the sky, borrowed wings to fly, but unlike migratory birds, they could not return home. At the moment when the wings are suddenly taken back by the heavens, in the last glance, do they see beauty or not? 地上的女人们，迟早的未亡人，一只只还活着的鬼魂，早擦干泪痕，藏好伤痕，但求余生，现世安稳，无战之争。The women on the ground, inevitably widows, each one still living ghost. Already dried the tears, hidden the scars, but seeking the rest of life, peace in this world, without war and strife. The women on the ground, Verdancy and Shinyang may become widows sooner or later, like living ghosts. They have already dried their tears, hidden their scars, only seeking to live the rest of their lives peacefully in this world, without war and strife. Above this ending theme song, Men Over Clouds and Women on Earth, of A Touch of Green. I hope you like my interpretation of this song. Now let's learn a few sentences of Taiwanese. The first one, 你莫怪伊 Don't blame him. Don't blame him. 你莫怪伊 你莫怪伊 This sentence suggests that someone might be considered placing blame on another person and the speaker is advising against it. So, 你莫怪伊 Don't blame him. 你莫怪伊 The second one, 你捌伊無 你捌伊無 Do you know him? The speaker is asking if the other person is acquainted with or has a knowledge of a particular individual. So, do you know him? 你捌伊無你捌伊無 And the third one, 有這款可能有這款可能 It is possible. This sentence indicates that something could potentially happen or be true. It suggests a degree of uncertainty that acknowledges that the scenario is within the realm of possibility. So, it is possible. 有這款可能有這款可能 Now comes to our last one. 你甲我記咧你甲我記咧 Remember this. Mark my words. So the speaker is emphasizing the importance of what they are about to say or what they have said. It is a directive for the listeners to take note and not forget it. So remember this or mark my words. 你甲我記咧你甲我記咧 So the rest of what I had to share today. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Next, we are diving into the other lyrics from the TV series A Touch of Green. Guess which one is it? Answers will coming up next time. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a 5-star review on your listening platform. Feel free to share this podcast with your friends to help more people discover this podcast. You can support my work by buying me a cup of coffee, which helps this podcast continue providing learning resources. To enrich your learning experience, I created a study guide in Chinese and Pinyin versions. The content comprises tests in both Comtest and Taiwanese with a Taiwanese romanization. You can become a member, subscribe to the study guide, and utilize it to preview before the new podcast episode launches, or review after listening to the podcast to enhance your language skills. Make sure to check our show notes for more information. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you join us again on Taiwan language episode. See you next time. Bye bye.